And I do hope that water boils soon. I'm sure it will. Okay. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, to what we call Cast Iron Wednesday, which is, as some folks know here, is something of a tradition that quite a few of these YouTube cooking channels have had for the past several years, where we do a cast iron video on Wednesdays. Why not? Because it's fun, and we get to show off our cast iron that way. So, yeah, we've been doing it here on this YouTube channel, in fact, for more than 3 years now, and somehow I've managed to do it without destroying my kitchen much. And we will see again if we can get through to another week of this, especially since, oh man, I had a shock today when I checked the calendar here and I found out Thanksgiving is 2 weeks from tomorrow. And I couldn't believe it's that soon, but apparently it is. Which means this is, I guess, going to be the first of three pre-Thanksgiving shows here, because, of course, there's no shortage of things to talk about when Thanksgiving is concerned. So, but nonetheless, though, thank you everybody for showing up here. What? Oh, hold on. Is the sound off again? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No audio. Again? Okay, let me make sure here. Testing, testing. Audio is working. Audio is working. Okay. Yeah, I was certain that it was working this time, and I apologize for the trouble. All right, let's get this thing back on here. And back to where we were. Okay, all right, can you hear me now? Okay, good. Okay, anyway, but thank you nonetheless, though. Thank you. Hello to everybody who's been kind enough to show up here. Hello to William Hurt, who can hear, and Dee Pal, and Corey Clark, and Cynthia Wesley, and Pat Z, and Rick Stumbow. Hello, Jerry 1952. Well, I'm glad you can hear me. Thank you so much. Because, yeah, as I mentioned, we've got like three of these shows here, or 3 weeks, technically 2 weeks, I guess, until Thanksgiving. And that's one reason why I wanted to make one of the standard Thanksgiving dishes tonight. The other reason is that I made some pulled pork this morning and last night. And so we certainly needed a side dish to go along with that. And what better side dish is there really than mac and cheese? It's been a while since we've done mac and cheese here anyway, and there's never any shortage of yeah, there's never any wrong time for mac and cheese, I guess I could say. Okay, yes, and Rick Stumbow, yes, you can hear me now. All right. Well, I'm not sure what I did wrong before, but at least we've got it straightened out. And of course, yes, happy hello, Cast Iron Fanatic. Yeah, yeah, we are doing a mac and cheese tonight. Oh, good, and it looks like the water is just starting to boil now too. Anyway, so there's some good timing for you. That means we can start out with well, what else? Every time these days I've done pasta, I've done it in the Wagner Magnolita Dutch oven because, as I've said enough times already, this is my favorite water boiler. It does a great job. And I've gone on already before how I find that this aluminum pot, again, is simply the best water boiler that I've had. Yes, cast iron does a great job boiling water as well, but as you know, cast iron can, of course, unfortunately, boiling water regularly can have an effect on the seasoning. I mean, yes, you can boil water in cast iron. It's just that if you do it regularly, like every day, or you use something in cast iron only for boiling water, well, that will have an effect on the seasoning. So better to use something like aluminum in that case, which again does a fantastic job bringing the water to a boil. And now that we've got our salted water and the pasta is in, we will first cover it for maybe a minute or so, yeah, unless it boils over. You know how that goes, of course. Um, I had Bob Evans mac and cheese. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I think we need to make a meatloaf in the lamb mold. Well, that's interesting. A little earlier in the chat, you were saying you wanted to make a mac and cheese in the lamb mold. I mean, granted, making a mac and cheese in that lamb mold, well, it might produce something that looks vaguely like a log, and that's about it. So, but on the other hand, who knows? We could very well do a meatloaf in that lamb mold. I mean, but I'd have to prepare for that. So we may have to make that a project maybe before Thanksgiving. So, And yeah, I'll take your homemade over Bobby any day. I wouldn't doubt that. Good evening as well, Randy Maple from Northern California. Well, nice of you to show up this evening. And again, always glad to see new folks here. But anyway, again, we've got some pasta going here in the Wagner Magnolite Dutch oven. And I just realized I did forget something. I always forget something, and that is get that out. Have to get my strainer for when the pasta's ready. So otherwise, I think the prep work was all finished. So, but at least, if nothing else, do you have any idea how much your collection of cast iron weighs? Yes, it weighs a lot. I don't have an exact count of the number of pans I have in my collection. I mean, I estimate maybe about 100 or so. So we could probably get a rough estimate of that, but I have not done any real calculations of how much my collection weighs. That is one reason why, though, I spread it out onto two, actually three racks when I had more room for it. And it looks like this thing is definitely boiling now. Oh yeah, I think I just managed to make it. There we go. We just avoided a boil over, which means now it's time simply to start stirring. And this will only take maybe a few minutes or so at the most. But while we're doing this, I think let's two things. One is, as I mentioned, we are of course open to questions and discussion about cast iron, about Thanksgiving, about cooking in cast iron, and yeah, because I mean, I'm sure some of us, I mean, even if 2 3 weeks maybe a little too soon to really start preparing, we can at least, start preparing our written plans for Thanksgiving. Yeah, and I don't mean unless you're the type of person who does one of those Mission Impossible down to the minute plans for Thanksgiving. Otherwise, just a general idea. I only found out the other day, and I'm quite ecstatic about that, but it appears I'm going to be having company for Thanksgiving. Going to have at least three guests, one of whom they told me she's interested in coming by and cooking a couple of ducks to go alongside the turkey. So that may turn out to be interesting. Who knows? Maybe we'll do a turducken this Thanksgiving. We can always see how that turns out. And Rights Trump Policy. Recently got my first antique cast aluminum piece, an unmarked muffin pan. Has C4 on the bottom, but that's it. And I can't find any online. Really? Is it shaped like a cast iron pan, or does it have a completely different shape? I never knew there were two ways to make mac and cheese. My mom always make. I never could pronounce this. I think it's bechamel, I don't know, added cheese and baked. Never knew anything else. Yeah, that's one way to do it. And that's actually what we're going to be doing tonight, doing the good old fashioned roux. The other way is to simply just that, mix it all together and bake it. Probably the most famous example of that, I think, is Jeff Rogers' famous mac and cheese. Speaking of which, I think I had better get started heating up the Griswold for to prepare the cheese roux. And that is right here. I figure this would be a nice occasion to take out one pan I haven't played with enough, and I want to be sure to start getting this thing ready. And that again is a good old number 10 sized Griswold, large logo, which I certainly am glad to have an excuse to bring this up. So we'll just put this up under a low heat right now while we are still stirring the while we are still stirring the pasta as well. Let me see if I can get a light. There we go. Hey, that's pretty good. There's a pretty good angle right there. Anyway, it's only really a matter of stirring this until we actually get to al dente. But yes, I have made Jeff Rogers mac and cheese a couple of times. It does take some effort, especially since he does everything by hand and from scratch. But nonetheless, it is certainly worth the effort, especially on Thanksgiving. Writes Trump, shaped like a cast iron pan. It has two diamond shaped cutouts, but I'm seeing online at a solid outer edge. The two diamond shaped cutouts would make me think it might be a Wagner or a Griswold. But I suppose getting a probably just providing a photo would be the best thing, I would think, anyway. Apparently, some people do use evaporated milk. Oh, yeah. I have not made my mac and cheese with evaporated milk myself, but you are correct. I have I have seen a lot of instances and recipes where people use evaporated milk. I generally haven't. It's not that I don't like it, but as you said, I've just made it pretty much one particular way. I mean, granted, up until I learned how to cook, the only kind of mac and cheese I ever made, of course, was the good old Kraft dinner or imitation Kraft dinner, I should say. And but I am very glad to be able, since then, that I've learned what a really good homemade mac and cheese can taste like. Maybe I should rephrase that so that I don't sound like I'm bragging, and I apologize. What I meant is, homemade mac and cheese certainly can beat the stuffing over Kraft dinner, as much as we love Kraft dinner. Okay. And I'm really good too, and with my family and friends. The best mac and cheese is the good old government cheese. Yes, indeed, which I know they don't seem to make that anymore. Although there are some blocks of cheese out there that they say rival what the old government cheese used to be, including those big 5-pound blocks of Velveeta that they have at the store. Of course, those aren't free like we used to get back then. Hmm. So yeah, those were the days indeed when we would when our parents would get this huge block of cheese from the store and stick it in the fridge. And of course, we had to be sure it was covered because when that thing was left uncovered, it turned dry and it would crack. And it would not take very long to do that either. So we had to be careful about that. All right. Deep Hell Pal, you need to use the creaminess. You need the creaminess of the cream sauce. But neat trick, add a quarter teaspoon of yellow mustard. So good. Yeah, that's exact. Well, we're going to be using powdered mustard here. But it is essentially the same thing. Yes. I'm hoping we are close to the point here where we are getting to al dente, which means I guess I better start tasting it and see. So let's pull out a piece. Mm, see how this tastes. Mm, good and salty, but not yet. Maybe another couple of minutes yet, I think. This, by the way, is that version, that kind of pasta called cavatappi, which seems to be made especially for mac and cheese. You can see how it has these ridges on it, as well as being very long as spirals. So yeah, once I learned about this stuff, this became my go-to for mac and cheese. I mean, elbow macaroni works great. This just simply works better because of the way it's designed. So I'm quite happy with that. Government Cheese was one of my favorite bands from the early 90s. Didn't know there was a band called Government Cheese, but that sounds amusing. So, um, let me see. What about flooding here? I haven't baked mac and cheese in so long. Sounds like a good idea, but only my broiler on my oven works because of the recent flooding. So my oven is like using an upside down campfire. Ooh, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Is it are parts of the oven broken? Do they need to be replaced, or are you running on, I don't know, on gas or something, and maybe the supply is low? Hope everything is going okay there. And other than that, if you ever had government cheese, say yes. Well, I'll definitely say yes, but it's been decades. My brother just gave me a 5-pound block of government cheese. That's interesting. So I guess they do still make it then, perhaps. Nonetheless, hmm, yeah. In fact, when I was when I was talking about Thanksgiving with one of my friends here, she had mentioned how, yeah, I was talking about the sides that I usually prepare for Thanksgiving. How we do, of course, we do a turkey, and I always do the mashed potatoes and the corn and squash and late and cranberry sauce. And lately, since I've discovered green bean casserole, I like doing green bean casserole. And then there's pumpkin pie and apple pie. And she mentioned mac and cheese, and yes, that's true. I think maybe 1 or 2 years I've skipped the mac and cheese, but that's just me. On the other hand, I won't be skipping it this year, especially if I'm going to be having company over. I will do my best to be sure that it's all covered. And again, I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do this tradition standard mac and cheese or if I might go all the way and do Jeff Rogers mac and cheese. But I guess we will see how it turns out. And hello, honey badger. Message retracted. Well, I hope it wasn't too bad. Even so, I guess the other question comes up is what are you folks going to be doing in cast iron for Halloween? I mean, granted, I mean, did I say Halloween? I meant Thanksgiving, and I apologize for that. Because I mean, granted, I mean, most folks, of course, I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with using your everyday cast iron because, what? Because, yeah, here I am. I think I'm getting spoiled if I'm calling it everyday cast iron as opposed to taking out the special cast iron because it's a holiday. Not everybody is quite as obsessed with cast iron as I am, and I have to remind myself of that. So, but the important thing, of course, is naturally is that it will help to make your will help to cook the food better on Thanksgiving. That's always the most important thing. I mean, it'll be an excuse for me to do things like break out good old Stumpy again to make the turkey for one. Let's see how well this. Let's see if this is any closer to al dente at this point. And here comes another piece. Mm, definitely getting closer. Maybe about a minute or so. I like the saltiness in this. I think I got just the right amount of salt in it this time. That pumpkin mashed potato sounds good for Thanksgiving too. Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and it's so easy to do. You just take some pumpkin pieces and mix them in with your mashed potatoes, and there you go. Bam, you got it. But as I said, I'm more of a fan of the kind of rough potatoes or smashed potatoes, I should say, the kind that have still have the skins on them. So if you're the kind who likes creamy mashed potatoes strained through a strainer, the pumpkin mashed potatoes would not be quite the same. But as I said, that's more of my preference, so I certainly don't have a problem with that. All right, I'd say we are probably at this point ready to finish here. So that means I can grab my gloves again. Okay. And we will get this over to the sink. So I could turn this off. And here it comes. There we go. I just dumped it all down the sink. Oh, what a shame. Fortunately, nothing to worry about because now that we've done that, let's get this back in there. Cover it. The heat is off. And okay. Thus ends step one. Now comes step two, which again is where we get to. Why am I having trouble moving this? There we go. Which is where we get to play with the Griswold. Something I always enjoy saying. Okay, let's see what else. My KFC still offers them. Am I the only one that misses KFC's potato wedges? I don't think I've ever had KFC potato wedges. I'll be making homemade green bean casserole in the enamel Dutch oven. Well, that sounds pretty good too. Who's ever made spinach balls? Just some croutons crushed up and spinach and some egg to hold it together. Well, that actually sounds pretty good. Sounds like yet another thing I'm going to have to try. Although, before I say that, let's get started on the roux. Okay. There we go. Yeah, and I don't even have this thing on very high either. So this is not going to take long to melt at all. I've got a quarter cup, which is half a stick of butter, because of course, the golden rule for a roux is equal amounts of butter and flour. I've been skeptical about the rule that says it's equal amounts of oil and flour. I'm thinking that with different kinds of oil, like say lard, for instance, it may not necessarily be the same amount. When I've made my roux for gumbo, for instance, I find that it seems like it may be more closer, at least on my end, to like about half a cup of lard to a cup of flour. All right, but there we go. The butter, she is melted. And I'm wondering if I can keep it up and brown the butter a little bit. No, I better just get started here. Don't want to take too long, nonetheless, because that means now we throw in, there we go, quarter cup of flour. And now we have to cook the flour, of course. Yeah, one thing about my roux is that it took me a while to realize that at this point here, you do not have to add more flour, because I was worried at first that it would not thicken enough, and I often ended up putting far too much flour in. But instead, although I just realized I had forgot to take out the milk, so I'll have to do that in just a second or so. But it took me a while to realize that the first time you add milk to a roux like this will in fact greatly thicken up. So there should not be any problem at all with this, as long as we don't burn it, that is. And then after the milk comes in, we've got our bechamel or bechamel. I never could pronounce that. All right, I think cast iron cooking is the most unhealthy. Oh, really? Says Colorado. Every person that cooks with cast iron, do you see the amount of oil and butter they use? That's really bad for the body. Yeah? Well, we're not dead, are we? So I'm not going to be some kind of an apologist here for cast iron. I have no need to. We are just simply cooking a traditional mac and cheese here. And if folks don't like using a lot of oil with their cast iron, well, they don't have to. That's all. All right. But on the other hand, if someone thinks they're going to troll here, well, we'll see what happens next. Elsie's cat, you don't put sugar and grits, salt and pepper with cheese. Well, that also sounds good. So, yeah, green pea salad. I like maple syrup jam on my grits. Oh, yeah, no sugar on my grits. Well, this almost sounds like the great cornbread question of whether or not we're supposed to use sugar in cornbread. I'm a big fan of yes to sugar in cornbread myself, but I have enjoyed savory cornbread without sugar as well. However, I think we're about ready here to get the milk. So far, I have not seen another comment yet from that person who says that cooking in cast iron is bad for you. Scrolling and left, perhaps. Correct on spammer. Okay, that means now it's time to start mixing in some milk and go from there. There we go. This is the part where it always starts thickening up. And as I said, it took me a while to realize that that's exactly what it's supposed to do. The other thing I learned is that you only need about this much of a roux for a full pound of cheese. That roux was made again with half a stick of butter and a quarter cup of flour. If you do much thicker than that, then your cheese will end up like something out of the Blob, and way too thick to make a mac and cheese with. I mean, it still tastes okay by itself, even though it's greasy, but unfortunately, it does not really mix in with the macaroni or the pasta. So, However, I like to think my my mac and cheese has gotten better over the years. Well, I'm certainly demonstrating for you tonight. So either I'm going to have egg on my face, which has happened sometimes, or we will have ourselves a nice, good mac and cheese. Right now, though, I think I can even turn up the heat a little bit more, but just a bit, and keep mixing in the milk. Although, hopefully, I think we're getting close to that right point right now. Let me see. Yeah, no, so far I've not seen anything else as well from that person, whoever that was. That's the other thing I don't get about the South, the grape jelly obsession. Well, on the other hand, you could say the same thing about it up here in the North, where we've got this obsession with marshmallow fluff, for instance. It's like up here we consider a fluffernutter to be a real sandwich. Peanut butter and marshmallow fluff. So it's just like grape jelly is a southern thing, although I love grape jelly. You could say that that is more of a northern thing as well. Okay, yeah, no, there we go. I think we are starting to get somewhere here as far as this bechamel is concerned. This is looking pretty good. I think I just have to heat it up a little bit more so I can probably cover the milk. Um, I'll just keep an eye on it, see whether or not I may need to add a dab more of it or not. Dude, it's more of a yeah, yeah than an angry thing. If you brown your roux, the flavor is divine. Yeah, there. Well, there's the thing. Of course, you want to just brown it and not burn it. So that's what I'm trying to do here. This, on the other hand, looks like it's doing pretty good. I would have to say we're probably at the point here where we can add the cheese. This is looking pretty good here. All right, that means, right, so we do butter and maple syrup and oatmeal. Well, that sounds good. Now it's time for the cheese. That's one thing I've learned. Try to use at least two kinds of cheese. We've got our cheddar, and up here we've got some pepper jack. And now here is where we have to start being patient, which means we just start stirring and stirring and stirring until the cheese does what the cheese is supposed to do. Fortunately, this really is not going to take very long, though I've got to be careful again that this thing doesn't burn, which that would not be good. Oh yeah, one other thing. I have to say, I'm getting a lot more use out of this handle cover than I expected, and I can only definitely thank Louis J for that as well. I mean, he sent me that field kit as a present, which he didn't have to do, and I'm really getting a lot of use out of this leather handle cover, so I'm glad about that. But here we go. It looks like the cheese is starting to spread out. So we're off to a decent start here. It means it's really just a matter of continuing to be patient. And I'm saying continuing because I hope we are being patient here. I mean, after all, we're half an hour into this and actually making some good progress as the cheese is melting. It would probably be a good idea. I just realized if I heated up the oven, I had forgotten to turn on the oven, so I've just turned it on now. But hopefully, it should reach 350 by the time we've finished adding in the pasta. Nonetheless, okay. And while we're doing this, all of my oven mitts got holes in them along. Yeah, yeah, I know that feeling as well. Never heard of fluffernutters. Well, there you go. Now you can go onto Google and look up what a fluffernutter is. It's really just a peanut butter and marshmallow fluff sandwich. And they accuse us Northerners of having sugar in everything. The fluffernutter may very well be proof of that. Even so, Okay, yeah. On the other hand, I am liking this. That this cheese is melting, and this would not be a bad way, I think, to make mac and cheese for Thanksgiving because I'm definitely enjoying the cheesy smell this is giving off. Even so, if my guest says that she is going to be cooking a couple of ducks, trying to figure out how I'm going to manage that, I think I'm going to have to cook the turkey very early and cover it while she cooks the ducks. Supposedly, with your turkey, they say you can let the turkey rest for hours at a time, especially since you are going to be serving it with hot gravy. So that is something to consider. I only have one oven, so I've got to find a way to make use of it, or rather, try to find a way to be able to cook both the turkey and the ducks. I will get more information from her as soon as I can. But yeah, this cheese is definitely melting. Yeah, we've got a nice thick cheese sauce in the works here. I've made peanut butter and fluff sandwiches without knowing they were a thing. I was just desperate for a snack. Well, Elsie's cat, that's actually been around for quite a while. The fluffer nutter. Put some bananas in the fluffer nutter. Oh, yeah, you just brought back memories. My mom used to do that when we were kids, have a peanut butter and banana sandwich. I think sometimes we had banana fluffer nutters. So yeah, that is definitely, as I said, you are definitely bringing on the nostalgia with that. Keep it up. I'm enjoying it. Even so, all right, there we go. Just got to be sure. Got to keep stirring. Got to keep stirring. But even though it's slowly melting, it is definitely melting. Not bad for a Griswold pan that is close to 100 years old here. All right, what else do we have? Leftover for breakfast. Cooked rice with buttermilk, sugar, cinnamon, good and cheap. The chicken goes in the turkey, then the duck goes in the chicken. Yeah, the trick though is that you most recipes for turducken actually call to you to debone all of those. So that is quite an effort. And I have not done that yet. Maybe I should, but on the other hand, taking a risk like that on Thanksgiving might be a little questionable. Maybe next year I should try doing a turducken some other time of the year first, and then do one for either Thanksgiving or Christmas. But we will see how that all turns out. All right, at least this cheese sauce is slowly becoming what I want it to be. It is not turning into something out of the blob, so I'd say this is going to be a successful mac and cheese, and I'm happy about that. All right, I recently had a Kool-Aid pickle, the famous Koolickle of the Mississippi Delta. Well, that's different. I made mac and cheese tonight, and it was crapped in a box. Well, look at my channel. You'll see I have made crap dinner in this Magnolite Dutch oven, and it does turn out good. It's just that homemade. I do have to say that I think homemade mac and cheese can be better. It does take more effort, and I guess a little bit more cost as well, considering that the Kraft mac and cheese now costs what, maybe $1 or $2. On the other hand, all of this cheese definitely costs more than that. Yeah, I'd say we are just about there, which means in addition to all of this, I've got to do something else, and that is rearrange these things a little bit. And I've got to do it quickly before the cheese starts to burn. Namely, let's move this away for the moment and pull another cast iron pan out. There it is. And that would be, this is lightning again, my BSNR number 7, which I'm very lowly heating here. Whoops, let's keep stirring here. I don't want to lose it here. Don't want to ruin what we've started here. But the reason why I'm doing another cast iron pan over there is so that we can melt some butter and do a cracker topping or crumble for the mac and cheese so that we can bake this in the oven. course, that's really easy there. All you have to do is just mix the mac and cheese, not mac and cheese, mix in melted butter with some crushed saltines. So nothing to it. And at this point, I think we're about ready here to add our pasta. So get this out over here and to start adding the pasta. See if we can do this right. There we go. Good thing I've got a big pot here. Sheesh. Hope I didn't overdo it. Because, yeah, maybe I did. We've got a pound of pasta here. I think it's time to turn off the heat. Meanwhile, the iron will certainly keep the cheese hot. But all we really have to do is carefully mix all this together. So now I'm starting to wonder if maybe I should have actually used something bigger than the number 10 Griswold. Nonetheless, looking pretty good here. Whoops, there goes one piece. Just gotta be sure we completely cover the pasta, in particular in the back. All right, and while we're doing this, I'm gonna try to multitask. As over here, we throw in a little more butter. Definitely multitasking is not one of my strong suits, but it's one that I decided to do tonight. Hope I'm not in over my head here. This is looking not too badly though. Okay, yeah, glad I turned off the heat though. However, it does look like the cheese is mixed in with the pasta. So let's get going over here. And while we're doing that, I don't want this up too high, especially with a cast iron pan that has a nickname of lightning. And while we're doing that, we've got a third thing to do. And that is to bring out some crackers. And move over here as fast as we can. Because while we're doing that, got to find somewhere to quickly smash or crush these crackers. What do I have to do that? I always forget something nuts cool that I am. Is this what I'm looking for? Come on, come on. Here it is. While we're waiting, gotta keep stirring. Shit. Don't want to burn it. There we go. And turn this down to its lowest heat now. A couple more smashes, I think, with this these crackers. Oh, good. The oven just gave its beep. There we go. And now, in we go. Come on. Ha! You did it. All right. Mix it through and through. Probably should have crushed these crackers a little better. Well, I don't think anyone will complain. It's not Thanksgiving after all. Into this, while we're at it, let's throw in just a little bit of garlic powder. Not much, just a little bit. Maybe even a bit of parsley. Here we go. And with that, one last time crushing this. Imagine doing this with a non-stick pan. All right. And now let's move back over to the mac and cheese. Okay. And we did it. Now let's turn off the heat over here so I don't forget. But lo and behold, here is ready to go into the oven. Haha. Glad we made it this far. All right, never seen that. Sometimes I put a couple canned tuna in the mac and cheese. Oh yeah, I've done that. I've had tuna mac and tuna mac. That's pretty darn good. All right, the oven is at 350, which means now, and we don't even have to do this very long in the oven. Maybe about, what would you say, 20 minutes or so, perhaps? I don't need that cover on there now. All right, and in we go. Haha. Off to a great start. Okay, anyway, thank you for putting up with all of that. I just realized on top of everything else, oh well. Okay, I sometimes put a couple cans of tuna in the mac and cheese. Yes, we've done that before. Tuna mac is indeed very good. Mac and cheese needs no tuna, spinach, or any add-ons. Well, it's everybody has their own different tastes. Remember that. After all, we're the ones who are going to be eating it. Make sure to use wild-caught, long-line, free so you aren't eating dolphin. Oh, tuna. So you aren't eating dolphin or something. With how many Western New Yorkers are in Florida, I'm surprised you don't have them. Okay, that sounds good. My mom just put a bunch of shredded cheddar on top, then baked. Oh, really? Yeah, it's funny because the recipe for this with the saltines and everything on top, that all says it's Southern mac and cheese. So I was of the impression that it was fairly common to put crackers or put a crumble on top of the mac and cheese when you baked it. So if that's not the case, well, again, I'm a little surprised there. Even so, make sure to use wild. No, we said that one already here. The crackers go on top. That sounds good. Yeah, exactly. No paprika. You know what? You know what, Clico? I goofed. I realized I was rushing around preparing all this. I did forget to add the smoked paprika. So yes, that is indeed my fault. We're just going to have this mac and cheese with two kinds of cheese, and the crackers on top of that, and as well as a little. Yeah, all that without the smoked paprika mixed in. My bad. All right, we slice them and fry them with onions. Okay, going on here. Anyone ever grated up some sweet potatoes and made hash browns from them? It doesn't really get crispy as regular potatoes. Well, yeah, no, that's because sweet potatoes are even softer than russet potatoes. So they're really, I mean, while it is possible to get crisp sweet potatoes, it's not that easy. So um, okay, I also put a shot of Jack in my morning coffee. Is Southern mac and cheese the kind with evaporated milk? Well, that's a good question because I don't know. You can sprinkle the smoked paprika over the top of the mac and cheese. Yeah, I suppose we could. Mom would put breadcrumbs on top for crunch. Living in New York is like living in an anthill, the last state I'd ever want to live in. Oh, I don't know. I'm living in New York right now, and so far I've been enjoying it. Although, granted, the area I'm in, the population is still a lot more spread out. This is definitely a long way from New York City. In fact, it's about 150 miles from New York City or so, maybe even almost 200. Florida is at least like a drugged out anthill. Okay, all right, yeah, half the people are in the woods. Well, whatever woods they have down there in Florida. Okay, anyway, back to the subject, I guess. Oh, I know. But unfortunately, it's too easy, as I've found out all too well. It's too easy to upset people, especially on the internet. Whenever we start getting anything that sounds like it's getting close to politics. Yeah. Even so, this here was a nice job, well done for Lightning, which again is the BSNR handwritten number 7, with these with these casting flaws on the there that look like well, I like to say it looks like lightning, although most people would say it looks like cracks. And that's the other reason why I like calling this pan Lightning here. Lightning is definitely going to be getting a lot of use come Thanksgiving as well. Considering I've got at least 5 or 6 dishes that I'll be preparing in cast iron, besides the turkey, there's the stuffing, there's the mashed potatoes, there's the pumpkin pie, there's the apple pie, um, some beans, some squash, the green bean casserole, and the mac and cheese. So it's definitely going to be a cast iron Thanksgiving here. Hello, G. Humphrey. How are you doing? Well, we're doing pretty good here. We have a mac and cheese in the oven, and with any luck, it will be done within about the next 15 minutes or so. At least I certainly hope so. Well, thank you very much, our finishes. Yeah, we'll see how it all turns out. I'm a little okay. Yeah, actually, it's not looking too badly right now. So we will go from there. Okay. What brand of lid has the rings rather than spikes inside? The rings inside would most likely be Griswold, because I've got a, Griswold lid. I can definitely show you for that. So let me just bring it over here. Here we are. So if you're talking about rings on your lids, that would most likely be what we have here with Griswold. As you can see, this one here plainly shows the Griswold, the Griswold logo on it, as well as the patent date as well. But the most important thing are these circular rings, which they continued all the way, at least until the point when they were when the Griswold foundry was shut down in 1957. I'm not sure if they continued making the Griswold pattern lids in when they were all made by Erie. But even so, these simple rings are definitely the mark of a Griswold. All of the different foundries did have their own ways of doing their lids, and that does make them a little easy to identify. Of course, in this case, having a big logo on top that says Griswold certainly helps to identify this. All right, so a Griswold has the rings. I'm cheating. Costco, huge pumpkin pie, $5. Now, nothing wrong with that. As they often like to say in cooking, there is no cheating. There are only shortcuts. And yeah, I mean, granted, there's nothing wrong really with getting a store-bought pumpkin pie or store-bought apple pie, because it does require a lot of effort. No denying that, to make a homemade pie. Especially like say apple pie, for instance, where you've got to cut up all those apples and everything. It's not too difficult, but when you consider that you're doing it while at the same time doing all of your other preparations for Thanksgiving. In fact, what I usually do is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. In fact, maybe now that you mention it, that's probably what I'm going to be doing on Cast Iron Live the night before Thanksgiving. I might prepare my pies for Thanksgiving so that they will be ready the next day. That's starting to sound like a plan, which means 2 weeks from tonight, I guess, is going to be, the night before Thanksgiving. Good grief, only 2 weeks. And that would certainly be a good time to do some of the earliest preparation for that. I never made a pumpkin pie from scratch, but I know it would probably ruin the store-bought ones for me. The pumpkin pies from scratch are actually not difficult. I do have a recipe for it on my website, which I'm actually quite proud of. In my case, my recipe even includes making a crumbly crust from scratch. If you don't want to go that far, you can still use store-bought pie crusts as well, with the pumpkin filling. Hmm. I gotta find a way to get you one of my pumpkin pies. Yeah, the other thing about I'm starting to smell that mac and cheese already. Yeah, mm, and that's starting to smell pretty good too. So I'm quite happy so far. Yeah, are they made from real pumpkins? Mine are. I can certainly tell you that. The store bought ones, I would probably. Well, you know what? There's a possibility that those store bought pumpkin pies might not even be pumpkin. They might actually be squash. Um, but number one, pumpkin is a squash, and it really has much to do with how you flavor it. I have had squash pie, and it is really hard to tell the difference between a squash pie and a pumpkin pie if they're both made in a similar fashion. In fact, recently on the comments of a YouTube video I made, somebody actually suggested putting carrots into a pumpkin pie. And it occurred to me that that might actually work if the carrots were completely boiled or cooked down to the point where they would become as soft as mash. You could probably mix that into a pie, and I doubt that anybody would even notice. So, and besides, after all, we've had caramelized carrots, so it's something to consider. Or as somebody says, sweet potato pie. Carrot pie is good. So yeah, I guess it's been done, and I guess that's not too surprising. So my friend from work wanted me to make her some. My recipe makes three big pies. Hmm. Yes, on the sweet potato pie. Well, I could, yeah. So maybe instead of pumpkin pie, we could do a sweet potato pie on Thanksgiving. Well, I guess I will. What I should probably do is ask my guests which they would prefer, whether it would be pumpkin or sweet potato. I'm just right now getting the milk back into the fridge. Since the milk is there's obviously no need for more of it. As far as the pumpkin squash family, I haven't had much luck, but I know that if things are cooked thoroughly, they change drastically. Well, this is true. Again, if you don't mind me plugging my videos, just last week, I did a video on the easiest way to make your own pumpkin puree. I don't know if you can call it puree since it's not really processed. I mean, essentially, it's baked pumpkin baked to the point where it just becomes mashed. And that's really all you do. You simply take the entire pumpkin, put it into a 350-degree oven, and bake it for an hour, a little more than an hour. And you end up with a pumpkin that is so soft that you do not need a knife to cut it. Literally, you can just pretty much scoop it all out with a spoon. And it tastes good too. What about trolls? Who's trolling now? Okay, pumpkin, Huggy Bear. Hope it was good. Hey, Colorado. Who cared? Colorado. What's happening with Colorado? Let me check here. Are we being trolled again? Oh yeah, here it is. Just wondering with all that oil. Okay, you're right. It's time now for Colorado to um, be put in timeout. Sorry about that, Colorado. Yeah, exactly. Don't engage with trolls. No, that's true. That's yeah. So yeah, Colorado is on timeout, so nothing else will show this evening from that person. Hope you gather some good ideas on how to make real food. Well, there is that. I mean, after all, he is spending some time here on this channel, so maybe he might get some tips on mac and cheese, perhaps. Hello and hello, Shinotu 145. Well, hello, and thank you very much, and welcome to this little channel here. I guess you've been watching the videos, and thank you so much. People are jealous of the recreational weed. Okay. Yeah, that would certainly be an interesting Thanksgiving side dish, writes Trump. I can certainly say that. That's for sure. Um, who knows? Maybe for dessert, we might even have make some magic brownies and see how that goes. Okay. Beyond that, well, I mean, okay, yeah. Again, I'm proud of owning a collection of cast iron, which again, Thanksgiving really gives me a great excuse to reuse as much of this cast iron as possible, and I'm certainly happy about that. Um, because, of course, on the other hand, that does make the cleanup a little more difficult. But I've been managing it for several years, and so this year, I'm actually thinking, well, I should record the cleanup from Thanksgiving because that might actually help some folks. I hope. Thanks for Griswold info. A guy in a Facebook sourdough group had a picture of an old Dutch oven that he had found and wondered if it was okay for bread. Everyone said yes, and I give him the Griswold info. Well, thank you so much. Again, I'm very happy if it's able to help people. I add a bit of stewed tomatoes to my mac and cheese. That all sounds good. I mean, I don't see why not. I'm celebrating the passing of two and making tacos. Passing of two. Not sure what we're. Um, I'm not sure what you're referring to, Honey Badger. I hope it's nothing bad. That's the best I can say. Magic pumpkin muffins. Just mix a little pumpkin in with your cake batter, and you will definitely have pumpkin muffins, although a little more sugar to go with that as well. So it just started pouring rain here. Yeah, and you're in Western New York, so I guess that means here in Eastern New York. I can let my guests know as well that apparently in Western New York they are getting some pouring rain now, meaning that it's probably going to hit here soon enough. So, not that it matters. I mean, after all, we're in for the night. And so, all right, I wondered if it was bread. I'm in El Paso and it was 93 today. Well, lucky you. It was 32 this morning and we managed to make it up to, I think, almost 50. So, um, oh yeah, if it was okay for bread. But yeah, the time certainly is flying, folks. That's for sure. I mean, can't believe with Thanksgiving only 2 weeks from tomorrow. I've actually been kind of keeping an eye out in Walmart for the annual fruitcake sighting because it seems like when the fruitcake appears in Walmart, that's when we know the holidays are definitely upon us. I mean, after all, now that Halloween is over, of course, the stores and not just Walmart have nothing but Christmas stuff except for the kitchen section, which actually does have a few things about Thanksgiving, sort of. But that's all right. We could certainly make do with what they give us. So I just don't want to get the fire police call, and have to go out in it. Oh, that would not be good. Well, we can only say best of luck on that on that Val. Even so, I want to sleep with my daughter's having a little party. She just got a job. Oh, well, congratulations on that. And want to let her celebrate a little. Well, congratulations. Make her something in cast iron. like a cookie, for instance. But nonetheless, I think we may very well be done at this point, since all we really had to do is heat up that mac and cheese. It's been in there for almost 15 minutes. So I do believe I can clear out clear off some of my mess here, which is my own fault, I'm sure. And now we get to go on the roller coaster ride one more time. Move this over a little bit. There we go. Let's see. I'm trying to get a decent view here for you folks. It's still a little too far over. There we go. That's a little better. There we go. All right, now time for the reveal, because fortunately that didn't take very long, thank goodness. But here we go, coming out of the oven now. Ugh. I can definitely hear it bubbling too. Oh yeah. And the crumble top is definitely crumbly. Maybe I should have crushed it a little more. But nonetheless, I'm not sure if, let me see, maybe if I can get my mic close to it so that you can hear some of the bubbling that it's still doing. Because it's definitely bubbling underneath, which means this mac and cheese is almost certainly done. I think maybe I could have improved the crumble on top. Unfortunately, it's really not much more than crumbs, but that's all right. If anybody doesn't like that, well, then they don't. As always, they can just brush the crumble aside. It'll certainly add a little bit of crunch to the mac and cheese, though. I can also say that. Sorry, I got to put my microphone back on once again. There we go. Anyway, anyone else try stainless steel? I got a set a while ago for a decent price. Can't say I've been impressed. Been funny, but to get a different technique down. Well, yeah. I mean, if you do all your cooking in stainless steel, I'm sure you will probably do wonderful at it. I can't ever get stainless steel to be good for anything besides boiling pasta and rice or cooking red sauce. Well, then if that's all you can do with it, then just go ahead and do it. That way at least you can certainly enjoy it. Meanwhile, let me pull out my phone here and get a couple of pictures of this mac and cheese, because this looks pretty good, and this would make a nice thumbnail picture for tonight. A little bit there and a little bit there. All right. Okay. Definitely has its uses. Are Magnolite pans all they are cracked up to be? The only Magnolite pan I have is my Magnolite Dutch oven, which is what I use to boil the pasta for this mac and cheese. And as far as making pasta is concerned, I love it. Yeah, I will definitely say an aluminum pot is the way to go for boiling water, whether you are making pasta or, in fact, pasta sauce. So that's something I'm not going to complain about. Huggy Bear, I've got some searing down. I used the water technique for preheating, but it was a learning curve for sure. I've never seen a cracked Magnolite. If you fry an egg on a stainless pan, it will make a burned on layer so consistent it will convince you it was what it was made to be used for. What, burning eggs, you mean? Honey, it's like a bad time of year for my family, too. I've lost many families. Oh, my condolences about that, Val. Well, I guess the best we can do is let's try to cheer folks up a little bit as we get out a dish, and let's put some mac and cheese in there. This looks like a nice sized bowl. Let's see if I can find something good to scoop it in with. Oh, of course. There we go. We got this spoon here. This is a Volrath spoon, so why not? Mm, let's try to move this over a little bit. There we go. And with that, I'm still using this glove here. Oh, yeah. I can definitely smell this, that's for sure. And with that steaming hot, here we've got some mac and cheese. This is definitely a far cry from Kraft. As good as Kraft is, I would like to think that this may be better. And now, if you'll excuse me one quick second while I present this to our guest. Thank you. Yeah, I've got a guest right here, right now, who's being very patient and watching a movie while we finish this up. Fortunately, and the best part is Rick Stumbauer is that this really was not that hard to make either. You know, there have been some live videos, as you know, where it hasn't been finished even by the time the live video had ended. And here, as you can see, the only thing I did before this all started was start boiling the water because we even cooked the macaroni here on this live video. If Kraft had tried that, they would roll over in their grave. Well, thank you very much. So I I make my mac and cheese white sauce in them. Oh, I guess that would be the stainless steel. And well, then there you go. You've got another use for stainless steel as well. But nonetheless, yeah, even though may not be Jeff Rogers mac and cheese, and I'm not sure I got the crumb on top right, although it did mix in when I put that in the bowl, so it wasn't all on top. So I'm hoping that at least adds a little bit of texture to the mac and cheese. In which case, then I would definitely have to call this successful. I mean, after all, nothing's burned, and it's certainly going to be filling as we try to finish this off. In fact, looks like I'm gonna have to foist a lot of this off on my neighbors again. Mac and cheese and fish sticks, Good Friday meal when I was a kid. That all sounds good as well. So oh yeah, smells amazing. I will definitely say that because again, the smell, the buttery smell of the crackers mixed in with the cheese of the mac and cheese. Yeah, this is. Mm, oh man, I'm seriously tempted. If this thing wasn't extremely hot right now, I might want to just bury my face in it. But if I did that, I'd get all burned. So I'm just gonna have to be patient. I thought mac and cheese came out of a box or from a lunch lady until way into adulthood. Yeah, I know that feeling as well. As I've mentioned before, I grew up as well saying that I could not cook to save my life. One of the few things I could make, and even then only poorly, was boxed mac and cheese. My problem was I didn't even understand such things as al dente. Usually, I would way overcook the pasta to the point where it was just mash. So yeah, what I ended up making more often than not was just like a mac and cheese slop. But fortunately, I have indeed made the box stuff, and I like to think it's turned out better now that I know that how you can cook it to just the right point. All it takes is a little bit of knowledge. I'm not trying to brag here, but even just a little bit will go a long way. And I think that's probably, oh, that loose noodle is driving me nuts. I'm trying to see which loose noodle you are talking about. Are you referring to this one perhaps? Yeah, this one sitting here on top, which I can just here and just dip it and cover it in some of the, there we go, in some of the crackers. Otherwise, I'm not sure which loose noodle you mean. Colorado in the house. Well, thank you very much, Laura Jenkins, and nice to see you. And Jerry, 1950, you too. I have to scoot. Well, I'll see you again, Jerry. And we will be that much closer to Thanksgiving too. I can certainly say that. So add bacon next time. Yeah, that's not a bad plan either. In fact, I could very well do that. When we start it all out, make bacon rather than just simply a roux. All of this is going to have to be planned come Thanksgiving because, as I mentioned, that's what this really is. This is a prep or practice, I guess I should say, for Thanksgiving. And it's not a bad start. At least it reminds me that almost all of those Thanksgiving dishes that we regularly have are easy to make. Thank goodness. Whether it's making the green bean casserole, which is really you just throw your ingredients together and then just bake them. And I found out it's practically impossible to burn green bean casserole, or whether it's a mac and cheese like this, which was really not that difficult to make, or even the turkey. Yeah, here is one lesson I've learned from cooking turkeys for the past 13 years or so, folks. And those of you who do cook your turkey on Thanksgiving, you know what I'm about to say. It's almost impossible to screw up a turkey. Turkey is actually very forgiving and it's very easy to cook. You are much more likely to overcook your turkey and dry it out than you are to burn it. So that really means that it's forgivable. And it's a good thing too, especially considering there's so many other things going on Thanksgiving that it can be hard to keep track of everything. But that's why for a lot of folks, just simply cooking a turkey is largely set it and forget it. But that's one lesson I learned, and I'm glad that I learned it, was namely just that again, with it where the turkey is concerned, you don't have to worry so much because almost always it will turn out just fine. Okay, anyway, yeah, I hope to see you next Wednesday as well. Writes Trump policy. I can certainly say that until he uses the lamb mold again. Okay, well, I'm going to have to keep that in mind, Deep Hell Pal. Well, there's always next week. We can always see what we can make. Maybe a meatloaf in that lamb mold. Who knows? Spatchcock turkey and number 16 cast iron skillet is a good day. Oh yeah, you've got one of those number 16s, don't you? Congratulations on that. Any food is made better in a lamb mold. Well, I think we'll have to keep that in mind. White sauce with onion and bacon for the green bean casserole. Maybe I'll just make the casserole in the lamb mold and go from there. Even so, even though this is actually a little earlier than some of these live videos have been, I would have to say we probably accomplished everything we need to accomplish here. Use the large skull pan for individual meatloaves. All of these are great ideas, and I would love to see you folks do it too. I mean, yeah, make it and put a YouTube video out, even a short one, just showing off your work, and go from there. That's how they start. That's how this channel started 12 years ago. Boy, it's been 12 years. It's hard to believe that. But as I said, I do believe we are going to have to enjoy ourselves some mac and cheese and clean up here and get ready for tomorrow, where we've got something special planned. Well, not for the, oh, no, correction. Let me say as well. I'm going on a trip tomorrow, just a 1 day trip, and we will go from there. Maybe if I'm lucky, I might be able to score something for my kitchen tomorrow, but I think we will find out soon enough. Even so, well, thank you once again, Rick Stumbow and For Morris family as well, and Wrights Trump Policy, and G. Humphrey, and Val's Black Cats Rules, and so many others here who've been kind enough to show up on this channel. And if nothing else tonight, I'm hoping at least this shows you that mac and cheese, well, is easy to make. I know that's not exactly newsworthy. Well, let me say again that homemade mac and cheese is easy to make. And if nothing else, I would indeed encourage you to give it a try at least once, because if I can do it, anyone can do it. I mean, I've said before, I am not a chef. I'm not a professional. I'm just a guy who likes to cook. And so that's why I say if I can do it, you can do it. There's nothing to be afraid of. And having the right tools for the job certainly can help, because yeah, the fact that this was all made in a cast iron skillet, I think made it just that much easier. All right. And having said all that, I think we are going to be heading out for this evening. And I thank you so much, everybody, and Dee Pell Pal and Pat Z and William Hurt and everybody else. So again, I can only hope we kept you entertained. We've given you some nice mac and cheese, or at least inspired some mac and cheese. And let's all relax and have a good evening. 2 weeks from tomorrow is Thanksgiving. So, I mean, it is certainly time to start planning for it. Even if you're not buying your food for it yet, definitely start considering what's going to happen, who's going to be there, where it's going to take place, and especially what you're going to cook, whether or not it's in cast iron. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for your time, folks. And we will all just wrap this up, and we'll be doing this all over again next week. So, as I like to say every time, with a quote from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yeah, if Yan can cook, then so can you. And see you next Wednesday.